And welcome to the Apex Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Bob G. DMD, and I'm here as always with my co-host,
Dennis V. What's going on, Bob? How are you today?
I'm doing great. We just came off a really great celebration last night.
Huge celebration.
It was fantastic, and everybody did a great job and showed up. We're going to have a show about that at some point.
Can't wait.
Soon, right?
Good stuff coming.
But today we have an incredible guest. Flew in all the way from Manhattan. She is graced the covers of Forbes magazine and has created scents for celebrity people and politicians, and we're going to get into all of that today.
Bob, I was very fortunate about 8 years ago. I met Sue Phillips. We were out at an Emmys event, the Debbie Durkin Ecolux Lounge event, and we were out there both promoting our brands and some great things we were doing to celebrities and influencers. And the vibe that I got from Sue, an absolutely amazing individual. She's done so many amazing things with her brand, and it's just great to have you here. We are so honored you made the trip today. It's such a beautiful day. Thank you, Sue.
Oh, my goodness. It is so wonderful to be here and to connect with you again, Dennis, and to meet you, Bob. And I'm thrilled to be here. And it was all just serendipity the way it happened. I was coming to Boston for a family occasion, and you said, Sue, I live near Boston. I said, really? And you said, can you do a podcast? I said, yes. So I'm here. So thank you for picking me up early this morning.
I'm so honored that you came and made the trip. And we're about, I guess, 30 minutes outside the city or so. So this is out in the boondocks, I guess.
Well, it's fine for me. But thank you so much.
Yeah.
What a beautiful studio this is, Bob. I'm so impressed. It's great.
Thank you. So let's get started. So I had the opportunity to pick up your book, The Power of Perfume.
Yes.
And, I'm a big fan of colognes, and I've been wearing them since I was a kid. Came from a Portuguese upbringing, and that was something that was part of our culture, really. And I've been wearing them since I was a kid, and it's been fascinating. I don't feel like I'm ready to go out until that's done, and that's the last thing that I do right before I walk out.
I'm so glad you said that, because I will not. If I'm late for something, and for instance, women change their handbags all the time, so I always have my fragrances with me. And then one day, if I happen to go out without my fragrance, I'll go back upstairs to get my perfume because I don't feel dressed without it. So I've been known to be late because I didn't have my fragrance on.
Well, I that resonates with me 100%. Yeah, for sure. And, living your life at the apex, right? For me, you are absolutely doing that.
Yeah.
And you're helping others do that. And you're catering to some of the most unbelievable celebrities out there and creating scents for them.
One of the things that I've discovered is that people don't know really a lot about fragrance. They know what they see when they go to the stores, and it's very commercial, and people get sprayed, and you say, don't spray. But there is such a magic and a mystery to perfume, and there's such a heritage. And our sense of smell is our most powerful sense. And people don't realize that it connects memory and emotions. So the olfactory goes to the limbic system, which is where the seat of emotions and memories are. And it also connects smell and taste. So if you don't have your sense of smell, you can't really enjoy food because you don't taste it. And you can't enjoy the memories and the emotions that go along with a wonderful dinner or a celebration. So as you know, COVID was a factor that really robbed people of their sense of smell.
And, we can talk about the anosmia and all that. Yeah. I think at some point, I think I saw or read that you were helping people that have suffered from anosmia.
Over 250 people so far.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. We can talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
But what I really want to talk about is from Johannesburg to New York. How did that happen?
God.
And then, I can picture you, on safari and enjoying, the bounty of nature. And then you're in the exact opposite of that in the most densely populated area in the world. So,
well, it shows how flexible I am, right? So, no, I grew up in South Africa. My parents were born in South Africa, and my accent is more English South African than Afrikaans South African. And at 10 years old, I was cast in a play, and that got me the acting bug. So I was in a play called Roar Like a Dove, and it was a Broadway-type production. And that was just what got me going in the acting world. So I studied acting, I studied singing, I was a singer and an actress, and I always wanted to be in theatre. I went to London to RADA, Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, when I was about 18 or 19. And I then stayed with my aunt who lived in London, and I auditioned, and I was there all the time, and I was studying. And when the final audition came, unfortunately, I didn't get in because there were about 10 spots for about 10,000 applicants. And of course, at the time, South Africa was sort of persona non grata because of the situation going on. So I didn't get in. But my brother was living in New York. So I came to visit New York in 1976 for the bicentennial celebrations, fell in love with New York and America, and 7 months later, I was living here.
Fantastic.
And then I couldn't get into America because I went to see an immigration attorney, and he said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm a singer and an actress." He said, "Oh, forget that. We have 20,000 out-of-work singers and actresses. We don't need another one." And he said, "What else do you do?" And I remember my mother always saying, if you're going to be in theater, have something to fall back on. So I had done a secretarial and business course. And he said to me, "Were you any good?" And by the way he asked me the question, I knew that was my ticket into America. I said, "Yes." So he said, "I'll hire you, I'll work with you, I'll process your green card, and stay with me for a year, and you'll, become legal and get your visa and all the rest." And I did. But at night, I would go out singing and acting, and I found all these gigs and all these little nightclubs in America and New York. And that's how I landed up sort of getting my foot in the door. And at the end of the year, when I got my green card, I went to a headhunter. And he liked the fact that I could stand up in front of people and perform. And I got 3 job offers in 1 week. One was to work in banking, not for me. One was to work in fashion. At the time, I didn't feel I knew anything about fashion because we were so fashion backwards in South Africa. But the 3rd job offer was to work at Elizabeth Arden. And I thought cosmetics, theater, synergistic, showbiz. And that's how I landed up in the cosmetic industry. They loved the fact that I could stand up in front of people and perform. And I became the national training director, and I landed up learning about fragrance and then traveling around America, setting up training schools. And so my career started at Elizabeth Arden. I was there for 6 years, 2 years in training, then product development, then marketing. And then Lancôme hired me as marketing director for fragrance and men's skincare. And then Tiffany and Company hired me to create and develop the first Tiffany perfume for their 150th anniversary. Now, if you'd have told me growing up in South Africa that I would one day be executive vice president for Tiffany in New York City, I'd say you're crazy. C'est la vie. That's what happened.
Wow. So interesting. What an interesting story you're bringing to the table here today for us. I'm fascinated. Yeah.
From Elizabeth Arden, from South
Tiffany.
Africa, to Tiffany, to having your own business where not once but twice Jamie Foxx has walked in and he's helped develop a fragrance for Katie Holmes and his newest girlfriend, correct?
Right.
Zendaya has been with you. Susan Sarandon. How does it feel to have some of the top celebrities and influencers in the world coming to you for fragrance?
It's just remarkable. I mean, it's so wonderful. And how the genesis of how I got to do my custom fragrances, after I left Tiffany to have my daughter, I started my own company, which I called, very boring name, Sue Phillips Enterprises. But I'm very creative, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, I get some great ideas. And the words kept on revolving around my head. Scent, enterprises, Scentterprises. So I wrote it down, so I trademarked it, Scentterprises. And I started doing consulting because I had just had a baby, and I didn't really want to work away from home, but I didn't want to give up work. So I started my consulting company, which I called Scentterprises. And I created fragrances for Burberry, for Trish McEvoy, for Avon, and all these consulting companies asked me to consult. Well, that was great until 2008, the economy crashed. So all the consulting dried up. And I said, "Self, what do you do now?" And I think I'm always the reinvention queen. I reinvent myself all the time. And coming from an English sort of South African background, I knew the term bespoke, which is all about customization.
Customization.
So I thought, well, why not start custom fragrance and bespoke perfume line? So I started to think about that, and I'd learned so much about fragrance by this point that I put together a range of fragrances. And people said to me, "What are you doing, Tupperware parties for perfume?" And they laughed at me. Well, I started working from home, from an apartment in New York City. And eventually I found a little boutique, a hole in the wall downtown in Tribeca, New York City, which was just a little basement, as you will. But I turned it into an oasis in the heart of Tribeca. My mom was a wonderful artist, so I had her wonderful paintings. And I just turned it into a lovely experiential boutique. And people found me, and that's how Jamie Foxx's people found me, and Zendaya's people found me. And Lawrence Fishburne was standing outside the boutique one night. And I said, "Hello, are you looking for something?" He said, "Yes, I want to come in here," because there were signs in the window. I said, "You'd like to make a fragrance?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Come on in." So it's amazing when people find me. And, you know, so many of these celebrities are just like us. They're nice people. They're warm. I guess some are not so nice. But, you know.
I think that's true with population in general.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
I just found them to be, you know, charming and interested and wanting to create something for themselves and very affable, and it's been a joy meeting people like that.
Well, what's interesting, what Bob and I talk about a lot, is when individuals are going towards their apex, which you're definitely at your apex, it's not always a smooth ride. So 2008 happens, the crash happens, and that's a major obstacle. But it doesn't seem like quits in your vocabulary. You found that as an opportunity to build a new platform.
Well, it's really interesting because I've been an adjunct professor at FIT College and LIM College, and I've always told my students, find something you love to do and find something that you're passionate about and never give up. And I swear that's my mantra. So when the economy crashed in 2008, yes, I reinvented myself. Then, of course, now fast forward to 2020. Now we have COVID, and I'm downtown, and downtown is like a bowling alley. No one's down there anymore. Businesses are shutting down. No one's going out. No one's wearing fragrance. So now I say to myself, self, what do you do next? And by this stage, I love to write. I've written all the time, and I've written articles, and I've written articles for industry publications and so on. So I said, you know what, now's the time to write my book. So I put pen to paper, and I wrote my book, The Power of Perfume. Oh, somebody calling, but we're not answering. Sorry.
That's okay.
And so it was now at the height of COVID, and the book was published, and NBC wanted to do a story about the book. And the day before the interview, they said to me, "Sue, do you think you can interview somebody who is a long hauler, who's had COVID, and they're a long hauler, and they've lost their sense of smell for 15 months.
Wow.
Well, truthfully, I didn't even know what a long hauler was at that point.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people did. Yeah.
And it's, I guess, somebody who's a long haul, they just haven't been able to smell, and then subsequently sometimes even lost their sense of taste as a result. So by this stage, I closed the perfume boutique downtown. I was working, I had found a pop-up boutique near where I lived, and I invited them all to come to the pop-up boutique, and I took this woman on a scent healing journey now. Instead of the typical fragrance journey, I called it a scent healing journey. And I had created 18 different fragrances, and she kept on smelling the one, the second one, the third one with the smelling strips. She couldn't smell anything. And by the 14th one, she suddenly said, "I smell something, and it's beautiful." And she started to cry. It was such an emotional moment. All of us in the studio, in the boutiques, really got welled up and got very emotional. And as a result of that, the story went viral. NBC, published it and broadcast it, and then I got calls. And so over the last year and a half or 2 years, I've now helped about 250 people regain their sense of smell by taking them on the scent healing journey. And I'm very excited to say that a neuroscientist reached out to me via LinkedIn. She'd seen all the work that I was doing and has asked me to collaborate on a book with her.
Fantastic.
To write
Phenomenal.
a book. So now I'm writing my second book, which the working title is Smell with Your Brain, because of the connection between the olfactory bulb and the limbic system. You know, people none of us ever think about our sense of smell. You go through life, you have your food, your drinks, your colognes, your this, your that, but you don't really think how important and powerful it is until you lose it. And when people lose their sense of smell, their whole disposition changes. They can't enjoy life. Why? Because all the food and all the wonderful aromatic elements are lost. You can't smell, you can't taste. All the celebrations that we have and all the pivotal moments in life, let's meet for lunch, for drinks, for tea, celebrations, weddings, funerals, it all revolves around food and flavor. And when you can't smell and you can't taste, that joy factor dissipates. And so people retract. They just don't enjoy life at all.
So true. I have my memory is truly triggered by smells.
Yeah.
For me, it's smells and sounds. But in particular, there's one hotel, I'll leave it nameless, downtown, that whenever I'm there, that's where I stay. It's kitty corner to the park. It's a very famous hotel, but it has an unbelievable scent when you walk in. And I have really great memories that are associated with that. So I feel an unbelievable fun feeling inside me, an exciting feeling when I go there.
Do you know why hotels and retail stores do that?
Because they know it, right?
Well, yes. It's called scent branding. And it's really trying to capture memories and evoke a memory, an emotional impact and a moment for when people go into the hotel or clients go into lobbies or restaurants or public spaces, that they connect a memory with an emotion and a smell. And so when you think about a happy moment, which you've just described, you think about that hotel and say, oh, yes, that's a fragrance, and it triggers happy memories.
Yeah, another one is campfires for me.
Yeah.
Triggers an unbelievably strong emotional response. And then when my significant other puts on the same perfume she wore the first day we met, I get sent right back to that first day for sure. And every single time. It's really fascinating, that connection. Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's the most powerful sense we have, and fragrance has been around for thousands and thousands of years. Do you know what the word perfume means?
Why don't you enlighten all of us?
That's
this is a great topic, yeah.
So the word perfume comes from the Latin per fumum, which means through, per fumum, smoke, through smoke. So in the ancient Egyptian rituals, they would make sacrifices to the gods, and they would put on an altar of wood all the elements that they wanted to offer and sacrifice to the gods. And then they would light all these elements, and talk about a campfire, they would light, and through the smoke wafting into the air, the aromas from the smoke and all the elements that they were offering to the gods would waft into the air. So the aroma wafted up into the air. And so through smoke came the word perfume. And that's how they started with the word perfume. And then, throughout the ages, perfume has been used for religious ceremonies, for personal use, in the churches. In the 13th century, they would get these thuribles, these incense holders, which they still use in the Catholic churches today. And they would put galbanum, which is a very light, bright, sort of celeriac kind of an aroma. And they would put that into the incense holders. And so when they would light it, the incense would smell of the celeriac, and it was a signal for sinners to come back to the church to repent.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I actually know that incense from growing up in the Catholic Church.
Older boy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Were you a sinner, Bob? Did you go back to repent?
I think we all have times in our days that we had to go back to repent for sure. So I'm really fascinated with the process of creating a bespoke perfume or cologne scent for somebody. Could you describe that process of how you do that? Because I know you had online, you have a scent quiz, which I did take, and you so graciously made us all a scent, right? And I think Dennis has shown it up there, right?
Yeah.
And they're amazing. And I haven't had the opportunity to go to your boutique, but we are going to come. I think we have something in May where we could maybe do that.
We're on our way.
Yeah. So, could you go over that process a little bit?
So, the art of perfumery and the art of creating perfumery is very complex. And it used to be the realm of just the very wealthy and royalty and people who were in the high-end upper echelons, because the upper echelons would hire a perfumer who would be able to create the fragrance, and they would really literally source the ingredients from nature. And so the complex aspect of creating perfumery could actually take a year or two. And so that was very expensive, and that was why the royalty and the De Medicis and all the very fancy high net worth people would be able to afford fragrance. Well, thanks to so many different new technologies today, fragrance has become a lot more, should we say, affordable, even though some fragrances are very expensive. So through headspace technology and through certain molecules being used to replicate natural ingredients, today fragrance has become a lot more affordable. So what we do, and what I have done at my boutique, is try to sort of minimize the expense. It's not going to cost $30,000 or $40,000, but still give it a luxury, bespoke quality and experience. So how do people really find the fragrance that they love? Well, perfumers used to go and talk to the people for hours at a time, look at their lifestyle, look at their what they wear, what they like, what they eat, and so people don't have that time. So I developed the scent quiz, which is on my website, which you took, and which Kerry took. And so the lifestyle personality quiz is actually just 12 questions. It talks about what seasons do you like, what foods do you like, what colors do you like, what time of day do you like. And there's only one question that refers to a fragrance, which is, what's your favorite smell? Is it a bookstore? Is it the ocean? That kind of thing. So by taking the scent quiz, it reveals whether you like fresh, floral, woodsy, or spicy. Now, I narrowed it down to those 4 areas because that's very easy to understand. Fresh is light, bright, citrusy notes. Florals are florals. Woodsy notes are very earthy and outdoors. And, of course, spicy is all those lovely spicy notes. But actually, fragrances are much more complex than that. But to narrow it down to those 4 families makes it more understandable. So by taking the scent quiz, it reveals your answers, whether you like fresh, floral, woodsy, or spicy. And then I get the results. And through my 18 fragrances that I've created, I can determine whether you like fresh and woodsy or floral or spicy, and I create fragrances that way.
That sounds like
tremendous.
a fun afternoon for sure.
When you think about the world, we have in excess of 7 billion individuals. You've taught adjunct faculty. You realize that it's not one size fits all. We're all unique in our own different ways. And what I might like for a scent, you may not like for a scent.
Correct.
So you really have to get to know the individual, which is what you're trying to do.
See, people say, I want to create a fragrance for something, or I want to get a perfume. Well, what is that? We think most women love florals. Well, some women don't like florals. We think most men like woodsy and mossy and patchouli. Well, some men they don't like such heavy fragrances. So it all depends on their individual persona and their personality. And so the whole idea of creating a fragrance that is customized for a signature scent or something that reflects your individuality and your personality is something so wonderful, because when we nail it and somebody says to you, "Oh my God, Bob or Dennis, you smell amazing," what happens? You feel confident, you feel terrific, you feel very, wow, this is hot, I feel great. And it builds the confidence factor, the confidence quotient that, wow, this really suits me. And you're not wearing a fragrance that everybody else wears that's, a dime a dozen at the stores.
That's so true.
So you have the quiz, but then you have individuals go into the store and is that easier because you have the individual in front of you and you're able to actually connect and get to know them? I mean, you're definitely a people person.
Yeah.
And you get to know their individuality and what the different interests are. Explain that process.
So people meet with me in my boutique, and we sit at the fragrance table, and there are 18 fragrances, and I take them through the top notes, which are all the light, bright, citrusy notes, and the middle notes, which are usually the florals and the spicy notes, and then the deep bass notes, which are the heavier, deeper, darker, woodsy notes. Now, it's really interesting. when I meet with people and they lift and they smell the bladder strips, I can see their visceral reaction immediately by their eyes lighting up, or the smile, or a pause, or they look at their partner or their friend. It's an amazing connection to see the visible reaction that a fragrance can trigger, which I can't see when people take the scent quiz. Of course, I don't see that. I just see their results. And so based on their results, I determine what their fragrance personality is going to be. But when people meet with me in person, the reaction can sometimes be so emotional. People cry sometimes. You know why? Because it triggers a memory or an emotion that they haven't thought of for years, either a first date or a loved one, or somebody who's departed, who their mother or their father or a loved one. And so when they smell something that they haven't smelled in so long, it can trigger an emotion that is absolutely visceral. And I've had people literally weep in my boutique.
So it's almost a therapeutic experience for individuals.
Yeah. And I can imagine if you've treated someone with anosmia who's been a long hauler and they can smell again, how emotional it must be for that person to be able to regain their sense of smell. And how rewarding is that for you? I mean, that's got to be incredible.
I'm tearing up and I'm getting a little emotional now thinking about some of the people that I've met with. I had a young boy called Sahid. At the time when we'd written the book and I started the first scent therapy session with this woman, Les, and everything started to go viral and people started to call me from around the country. I had people calling me from Boston, from Chicago, from California saying, I've got to meet you because I can't bear living life without my sense of smell. And it's been amazing how, thankfully to the scent guards and the olfactory guards and whoever has helped me with this, that when they can smell again, it's life-changing. And so that is why I'm so excited to write this book, because, Dr. Mila Emerald, who's the neuroscientist who wants to collaborate with me, is amazing. And she said, so I want to get your message out, because all the science in the world can't really help people with the actual smelling and what happens when people actually smell. And if they are able to smell something, it's a very emotional physical reaction, as opposed to all these sort of scientific theories about what happens. When you can smell something or taste something, it's very different from all the ideas of, well, this is what happens scientifically, or.
Yeah. They say, like, if you can make a change or help somebody change in a way just once in your life, you're giving individuals hope, and you're creating change that is just groundbreaking, and that just must make you feel amazing.
It's really gratifying, I have to say, when people leave and you see their eyes light up and their whole demeanor changes. They suddenly become, there was a guy called Dennis, actually, who flew in from, I think, Salt Lake, and he was spending some time in the summer with his family up in Boston. And he contacted me. He said, I'm going to be in Boston for the summer, but I've got to come and see you. Can you see me tomorrow, which is a Saturday? I said, sure. And he flew in. Dennis walked in, not you, Dennis, another Dennis, who walked in. I will tell you honestly, his shoulders were slumped. His face was pale. He was just not a happy person. And he had been suffering for 2 years. Well, I took him on the scent healing journey. Do you know that by the end of the session, which was only about an hour, his face had color in it? He started to, the cheeks, his eyes lit up. He stood up and he walked with purpose. He cried, he wept, because it was the first time that he could smell in 2 years. And so he's in my book, and he's been amazing. He's very supportive, and it's like chalk and cheese. It's such a difference in his demeanor and his disposition. So I'm so grateful and so gratified that I'm being able to help people out of my passion for fragrance.
Yeah, right.
I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm not a perfumer. I'm a fragrance lover and a fragrance expert.
Well, you are a perfumer
Sort of.
now.
Except I didn't study organic chemistry, but I've
I
been
got
doing
you.
it for
I
so
got you.
long.
I got you. You didn't study the esters and all that, that stuff
Exactly.
that goes into that. We could go into a talk about that, but I think we would bore our audience a little bit. It's not as salacious,
Right.
All the volatile esters and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But that's a long time ago for me in my training. But anyhow, I am so fascinated about the ability for you to create this bespoke scent. And I'm really looking forward to coming down to your boutique and bringing my significant other with me as well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Did you like the fragrance I created?
I loved it. It's fantastic. It's
Tell me what you like about it.
So this one, I think I had told you, or the quiz asked what were fragrances you like.
Yes.
And then what is it that you you take the quiz, and mine came out as citrus, green, woodsy, mossy, tonic sport.
Yes.
Right? And it smells, it's very interesting. It's different than anything I've ever worn before. And what I like most about it is that my significant other loved it. So that was
that's
pretty
wonderful.
So that's pretty great. I love that it smells different than anything I've ever worn.
Oh, I'm so
For
happy.
sure. Yeah.
That's so great. Yeah.
Dennis, you just had one made too, right?
Oh, absolutely fabulous. So, first of all, I love the name. My scent name, Dash and Dennis. Citrus, tonic sport, woodsy. I mean, this time of the year I get allergies, and I didn't know if I'd be able to smell it. Boom. It just really, I could smell it right away. And it has a nice, clean, crisp smell. And I love it.
So what's interesting is, and I'm sure you know this, Bob, that different cultures like different tastes, different smells, different aromas, different colors even. So in America, the predominant fragrance direction that men and women like is something very fresh and clean. Most people say, oh, I love fresh and clean. And that is why you've got all these bath products and home products in the fresh citrus arena, because fresh and clean results and translates to clean, fresh, crisp, and so on. The Europeans like florals, the English like lavender, the South Americans like spicy, and the Middle East love Moroccan oud and all the oud and the agar incense wood. So what's interesting is that most men in America like the sporty, fresh, crisp character of a fragrance. Now, in Europe, men do like florals because Europeans have been wearing florals for centuries. So many European men will gravitate towards florals. American men think florals are too feminine. But there are some men who will love florals, and it's okay. I give you permission, men, to wear florals. It's okay.
That's okay. Men can wear pink, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right, and then our room here is cast in a lavender.
I love it.
Yeah,
My favorite color is purple, so this is wonderful to me, yes.
Yeah, you need the backlighting in here to make it look right. But this has been awesome. Incredible interview. Where can people find you?
Well, thank you. You can go to SuePhillips.com, which is my website. And I have 4 Instagram names. So that's the story. But my biggest one is Scentfully Sue. When I first started with social media and everything, I used to walk, people would say, oh, here comes Scentfully Sue. And I captured Scentfully Sue. So that's Instagram, Scentfully Sue. And it's on Twitter, and it's on TikTok, and it's on Threads. But then I had to capture my company name, which is Scenterprises. So I have Scenterprises. And then people said to me, Sue, you're the brand. It has to be Sue Phillips. And I thought, well, that was too egocentric. But ultimately, I tried to get Sue Phillips, but it was taken. So I become the real Sue Phillips.
That's how it works.
And then when the Centarium, my boutique downtown, closed, I changed it to Sue Phillips Fragrance. So I'm at Scentfully Sue, Scenterprises, Sue Phillips fragrance and the real Sue Phillips. And you could find me on Google and SuePhillips.com and Centerprises. You'll find me, I'm sure.
Yeah, go take the scent quiz. It's
Yes,
really
take
fun.
the scent quiz on SuePhillips.com.
And your significant others should take it too.
Yes.
It's a fantastic time. I actually had a great time doing it.
I'm so delighted. And my book is called The Power of Perfume.
Yeah, The Power of Perfume right here. I'm putting it up on the screen.
Which you can get on
It is a
Amazon.
fascinating read. It talks all about, your coming from the African continent to the North American continent and the whole process. And lots of reviews in there too from really influential people. And if you go on her socials, you'll see pictures with Sue making bespoke scents for all sorts of people. You'll recognize their faces without a doubt.
So it's not by accident that you're a success. You have a passion for what you do. I love them. I've been a college professor for 27 years as well, and I love your message to your students that, and I say it to them all the time, when you wake up in the morning, you need to look yourself in the mirror and find something that it's going to make you happy, that you're going to want to do for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. You're doing it. You're living it. You're happy. You're making other people happy. You are clearly living at your apex, and honored to know you. So blessed to have met you years ago, and that we've reconnected and keep it moving. So thank you so much.
My goodness, thank you. It's been so wonderful. Just on the heels of that, I would say that, yes, I told my students the same thing. Find something that you love and something you're passionate about. But you know what? In life, there are challenges. There are always going to be challenges. If you become a doctor and a lawyer just because your parents want you to become a doctor and a lawyer, and that's not your passion, when the challenges come, you won't know how to deal with it. If you love what you do and you find something that you're passionate about, when the challenges come, you'll acknowledge them. But it's also important to understand that certain times you need to shift. You need to find something else that might give you a challenge. I mean, look, I've had several. I left South Africa, came to New York. I closed my business because of the economic downturn. I had to close the other business because of the COVID. But I've reinvented myself all the time, and I think through my journey and through my love of what I'm doing, I've been able to navigate the challenges. And I think that's what gives me resilience, and that's what makes me feel that I can help people, because I'm not stuck in this morass of, oh my God, things are so bad. Just refigure and recalibrate, but still find something you love to do.
I love that about you, actually. We just met, right?
Yes.
And I'm so happy that we have, because I feel your spirit and your soul, and it's just this really fantastic, resilient person, and I feel very comfortable even talking to you, just meeting you and only knowing you through social media and in the book, and I'm really grateful that you came in.
Well, I'm excited, and my journey is not done. At this stage, most of my friends and colleagues are in the retirement mode, and I'm saying, retire? Me? Forget it. No. I honestly feel I'm just beginning, and I have to give you a little anecdote. Do we have time?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sure.
So, thank God for social media. So on LinkedIn a couple of 2 years ago, somebody contacted me and they said, Sue, we've been following you for 10 years. 10 years? You've been stalking me for 10 years? What the hell are you doing? They said, we think you can be the Joe Malone of America. Do you know who Joe Malone is?
Yeah, of course.
So I very flippantly and cheekily said, no, I want to be the Sue Phillips of the world.
Yeah.
They brought me to Dubai, and we were starting this whole brand development. Anyway, unfortunately, there was a conflagration between the partners, and it never happened. But I was supposed to launch my Sue Phillips brand globally last year in October in Cannes. But you know what? Just the fact that I said that in a flippant way gave me such the confidence to say, well, why shouldn't I be Sue Phillips of the world? Why shouldn't I take my message and help people? Why shouldn't I really do something with what I love to do? And so that's my trajectory right now. That's what I'm really working on towards, building a brand to help people, and a foundation to help people with Alzheimer's, people who've had anosmia. My mom sadly had Alzheimer's. You'll see in the book a picture of her with her paintings. So, and because fragrance and memory are so connected, the Alzheimer's factor is such an important factor. In fact, I'm doing something in June in New York City for the Caring Kind. It's an Alzheimer's related organization, and if you would like to come to New York, it would be great. We're doing a gala in June for the caring kind, and those are all the caregivers for people who have Alzheimer's. You know, we always think
That
about
is
the
fantastic.
Alzheimer's people, but suddenly think about the caregivers. When my
Right.
mom had Alzheimer's, well, she had dementia to start with, and it was really awful. She was an amazing artist and couldn't even hold a paintbrush at the end of her life. So I've done many fundraising initiatives for Alzheimer's people. But now you think about the caregivers, people who take care of Alzheimer's patients, and they don't know what to do because you can't connect with an Alzheimer's patient. So this is an organization called Caring Kind that is really focused on helping people navigate the challenges that Alzheimer's patients have. So I'm working on that. I'm working on a foundation for anosmia, for wildlife, to protect wildlife for South Africa. So I really want to take my message and build a global brand to help people in all these different areas that, you know, I can make, at the end of my life, there'll be a legacy. It's not that
Impact.
I'll be gone and that's
Yeah.
it. I need to really create a legacy. So that's what I'm trying
I
to do.
love that. I love that, and that's what we're trying to do here too. So
Yeah.
we're in cahoots with you.
Well, I think what you've done here, I mean, honestly, I've been to, if I can just bring it down a second, I've been to dental offices which don't have this aspect, this aesthetic, this beauty, and this sort of feeling of, it's just such a great vibe in here. And the fact
thank
that
you.
you've done this and you've got
Thank
this
you.
studio and you're doing these podcasts, Bob, it's wonderful. And Dennis, the two of you, bravo.
He's my partner in crime with
I
this,
know.
and
I
Thank
think
you
it's
so much.
fantastic.
It's been fantastic.
Wonderful. You give people an opportunity to share their vision and to share their stories, and it's a wonderful platform.
oh, thank you.
We're blessed for you that you
Yeah,
have shared
thank
your
you.
vision.
Thank you.
This is remarkable.
Thank you.
Fantastic guest. Thank you so much. And I truly say this to the audience at home. Go and see Sue. You'll just even to come in and meet with her is just unbelievable. Her whole demeanor and vibe, it's a gift. And yeah, she's a gift to society as a whole. And I wish you all the best, and you have supporters with Dennis and I on your march to bring Sue Phillips globally.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Love and kisses to you both, and thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
My pleasure
Thank
too.
you, Dennis. You found me 8 years ago, and now we found each other again.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And Dennis, unbelievable interview.
Now, unbelievable. And Bob, what I've said before, and this time we really have to do it. We have to do another road trip.
We
It
do.
Sounds like we have a road trip.
We have a
going.
bunch of road trips, but we got to go
This
for sure.
This is definite. And as always, it's
It's go time.